However, that bodes good news for certain sections of our community. And we also have certain sections of the community making allegations that we as a Muslim community should not be going that route, because if we have Muslim marriages recognized by the state, we are going against Sharia. So there's this ongoing finger pointing going on and confusing us as an ummah, really and truly confusing us, and we really don't know which way to turn. So we have attorney Farhana Ismail online to give us an overview of what the Muslim Marriages Act is all about, and is it, as some people are alleging, that it is going against the Sharia and having women and men panic about the situation and having these long discussions and long debates, which is pro or anti-Muslim marriages. Farhana Ismail, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Assalamu rahmatullah. Thank you for having me.
Lovely to have you on the show. And just before we start, just want you to know, I did send you a WhatsApp message of condolence on the passing of your father. I am so, so sorry for you and the family. Allah grant him the highest stages in Jannah.
Jazakallah, Ameen.
Okay, so the Muslim Marriages Act. You as an attorney, I know you've been involved and you have a very clear idea of what exactly is going down. What does this mean for us as Muslim women?
So, Auntie Julie, I think we just need to go back, okay, into the history of this matter. And I think that Thursday's hearing is not exactly what people are understanding it to be in the general public. So everybody knows that for over 2 decades now, the legal fraternity and many Muslim women groups have been trying to get some sort of laws recognized in favor of Muslim women. Okay, there's been a lot of opposition to the Muslim marriages bill over the years, and as a result, nothing has come to the fore, and there's still no recognition apart from piecemeal recognition in respect of cases over the years. So what happened was when the Women's Legal Center Trust approached court, they asked, that certain provisions of the law recognize the marriages, and why hasn't Parliament taken any steps until now to make sure that women's rights are protected? So without going into the history of the matter, in December 2020, that was last year, the Supreme Court of Appeal decided on the matter, having had no luck with the Muslim marriages bill. And what they decided was, which is very, very important, and I don't think that our communities have actually grasped what the effect of this judgment is. It hasn't been widely publicized as I believe that it should be. But in a nutshell, what the Supreme Court of Appeal concluded was that pending the coming into force of legislation, that means pending some sort of legislation coming into effect, new legislation recognizing Muslim marriages, or amending the existing legislation. So if they didn't amend the existing legislation, and what they refer to is the Marriage Act and the Divorce Act, right? It is declared that the union validly concluded in terms of Sharia law. As a date of this order, which means December 2020, right? Or which has been terminated in terms of Sharia law, right? May be dissolved in accordance with the Divorce Act. And the importance of this is that it says that all the provisions of the Divorce Act, shall be applicable, right, to all Muslim marriages, in that they will be treated as they are out of community of property, except where the parties can produce agreements to the contrary, right? So previously, Muslim marriages had no marital regime. We did not know whether it was in community of property, out of community of property, or out with the accrual system. Obviously, the Sharia has its own rules, law, The
Yes.
Sharia law actually prescribes that it's out of community of property unless
Right.
the parties agree otherwise. Now, the effect of 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 the marriage being out of community of property and being subject to the Divorce Act, there's several implications. The first implication is that Section 7.3 of the Divorce Act shall apply to a union regardless of when it was concluded. So even though the marriage was concluded prior to this judgment, Section 7.3, which deals with the division of assets and maintenance of parties, actually Section 7 of the Divorce Act, will now apply to Muslim marriages. And what this in effect means is that a court can grant an order that it deems equitable and just by reason of the fact that the party in whose favor the order is granted. And, this would apply to, the common housewife that sat at home and
right.
what her contribution was.
Right.
So the court will make an order directly or indirectly with regards to a redistribution of the assets of the parties and towards spousal maintenance.
Okay.
That is very that's one of the main
And it's
provisions
favorable. Obviously, it is favorable to the woman in this situation, very especially your stay-at-home housewife.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Section
All right.
7 of the Divorce Act actually deals with the redistribution of assets.
All right.
Yeah.
Just two things here that I want to point out. I refer to it as the Muslim Marriages Act, but it's not an act, it's a bill. And what we're talking about is the Divorce Act. Am I right?
So it's not even the Muslim Marriages Act, and it's not even a bill.
Not even
No.
a bill at this point.
No.
What is it then?
So what is it is that because we've been unsuccessful in coming to an agreement in respect of the Muslim Marriages Bill, with all the opposition and so forth from various organizations, and Parliament has not yet enacted any legislation. Okay, the Supreme Court of Appeal has now said they've given a judgment. It is only a judgment which we are now bound by, because they are the second court, highest court after the Constitutional Court, which says that until we can agree on the laws that govern the Muslim marriages, the provisions of this judgment will now take effect.
Okay, so now
So the Supreme Court of Appeal has given government now, as at December 2020, 24 months within which to enact new legislation or to amend the current legislation. Now, what I'm referring to now is the current legislation, which is the Divorce Act and the Marriage Act. The Divorce Act and the Marriage Act does not include Muslim marriages. So what the court is now saying, that until Muslim marriages are regulated in terms of its own act, a new act, or we amend the Divorce Act and the Marriage Act, the current provisions of the Divorce Act, which is not Sharia-based, will apply to Muslim marriages.
Okay, so obviously that is the key factor that seems to be unsettling a lot of Muslims. I also would like to hear what are the ulama councils saying about this issue. It does seem in favor of women who then undergo a divorce or a separation or whatever. So those are what we need to, those are the answers we want this morning. A pity we are, have about another 5 minutes left with you. So I'd like to cover that. And then also a caller is asking, does the Muslim Marriages Bill, for want of a better word, we'll refer to it as a bill, also then protect men? For example, men that do not have to upkeep the house on their own. That's the question. And the way I see it and understand it, this does seem to be favorable in light of a woman that's going to be divorced, or a woman in multiple marriages, in a multiple marriage.
So again, I don't want to say it's a bill. It's only a judgment.
Okay.
We still have no bills. We've got no laws that are currently in place regulating Muslim marriages apart from what now the Supreme Court of Appeal has said in the judgment. Um, and obviously, when we refer to the judgment refers to the Divorce Act. The Divorce Act makes no distinction between males and females.
Okay.
It is representative of all genders. And that's the other thing that, the judgment says is that I just want to get to it.
Okay, whilst you're getting that judgment, let me just respond to someone that sent in a comment. And the person is saying your story on the Muslim marriages judgment is very one-sided. Get the view of learned ulama. Just in response to that, dear listener, we are possibly tomorrow. In fact, we wanted someone on the show today, but we were unable to get hold of Maulana Ibrahim Baum. That's the person that I suggested we get on the show. But rest assured, we're definitely going to get the view of the ulama on this matter as well. We do want to give a very balanced story. Back to you, Farhana.
And Julie, just for purposes of clearing the air, I represent no women's group or feminist group. I'm actually one of the board members of the Muslim Lawyers Association. And we've opposed the Muslim marriages bill. But what's up for discussion today is not the Muslim marriages bill. What's up for discussion today is the Supreme Court of Appeal judgment that came out in 2020 last year, and what are the consequences for the Muslim community. In no way am I endorsing the provisions of the judgment. In no way am I saying that I'm not in agreement of the judgment. I was called onto this show to explain that there was a judgment and what are the consequences of the judgment.
Exactly.
My personal views will not be aired. But again, I say that, I am a member of the Muslim Lawyers Association, and we have opposed the Muslim marriage as well. But that is not what we're discussing today.
Exactly. Thank you indeed for the clarification. Let me allow you the time to wrap up on the matter and the way forward. And rest assured, we will get someone from either UXA or one of the ulama boards to come and talk to us further, because there is contention amongst the community suggesting that this marriage judgment, Muslim marriage judgment, goes completely against Sharia law. But let's reserve that for our discussion tomorrow or later on in the week.
In fact, I think it would also be a good idea if we could get one of our members from the Muslim Lawyers Association. Alternatively, I don't mind coming on to air again.
Absolutely.
And, and if we have more time
Inshallah,
to go into, the whole topic deeply and, explain the various provisions and what is it that, we aiming for.
I think let's do that. Let me give you 2 minutes to wrap up on on the discussion at hand, and then we'll try and allocate more time for you, perhaps early next week, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, as a departing point, I think that there's also been confusion as to what the matter is the matter in respect of the Constitutional Court is about. That matter pending in the Constitutional Court is an application made as to whether the government has a right to govern our Islamic marriages, and whether they have a right to force Muslims into a certain regime.
Okay.
So there's a lot of confusion regarding the legal terms and the relief that is being sought.
Right.
I think social media has distorted quite a bit of what's actually going on in the various courts and the relief and the remedies that are being claimed.
All right.
So, inshallah, if you've got the time that you can allocate to the various professionals in the field that can come on and, give the listeners a more clearer view and understanding, It was very appreciated.
All right. My show is News and Views, which means the interviews are not longer than 10 minutes. But I've just come up with, I've just thought of something which I think is going to work beautifully. Let's get Brother Inayat Wadi to put together a panel and have different, yourself, a few other lawyers, and the ulama, different maulanas, and have a panel discussion on this matter. So I'm going to have Inayat put this together, inshallah. Shukran so much for your time. Salaamu alaikum to you.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Right. We have a call online. Please go ahead. Salaamu alaikum to you. Caller, are you there?
Assalamu